Welcome in. It's Game Time Decisions with you on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh, back in action on a Thursday night as we are live for the next 2 hours going through tonight's slate and still some of the fallout from Super Bowl 58 because tonight is the first time I've seen you. Well, we did the post game, but you get the deal since the Chiefs became back-to-back defending champs. Got a great crew joining us tonight. Coach James Young will be here. Joe Madden helping us with a huge hockey slate. Brady Cannon live in the next 10 minutes to react to the Genesis Invitationals round number 1. Cantlay off to a great start, plus the latest on Tiger Woods. Let's get to some breaking news, though, that we had today in the National Football League around Seattle Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith. The Seahawks allowing his contract to become fully guaranteed, which will keep Geno in Seattle for the time being. I think the reporting here suggests that Seattle makes this move not necessarily because they love Geno, not because they're dead set on Geno being their quarterback even next season, because they love the price. They feel for a starting level quarterback, which Geno still is, right? Geno is not a Super Bowl level quarterback, but he's a starting level quarterback. And with that, the Seahawks can either run out Geno Smith and be competent in the first year of McDonald, or the Ravens defensive coordinator who came over, or they could probably trade Geno Smith, get a decent haul back, and buoy their roster that way. The Seahawks have a lot of options this upcoming season. This was the first, and they've decided to keep Geno in town for the time being. We're going to stick with football as we open up today's show here on a Thursday night. You'll see the odds to win Super Bowl 59 with the two teams that played in the game right there at the top. Firstly, let's bring in the radio audience. Excited to have you here at Sirius XM, Channel 159, SportsGrid Radio. I'm Kevin Walsh with you on Game Time Decisions. In case you haven't been told this yet, this actually has seen a bit of movement. The look-ahead gap was 450 on the Niners and 750 on KC. So they brought these teams together now quite a bit. And that obviously makes a bit of a difference there. But the Niners still being booked as the favorite at 5-1. KC plus 650. You go 9-1 Ravens. And look at this, 12-1 Detroit and Buffalo rounding out that top 5. What I think we're going to get into tomorrow on our show, Little Future Friday, we're going to tear off the updated Super Bowl odds and see what the takeaway are. I'll just say, this is going to be something that a lot of people are going to find impossible to justify. You can talk about the difficulty of the conference. You can talk about how that game should have played out, which I think it should have played out differently, shoulda, woulda, coulda. It doesn't matter. The idea that the back-to-back champs who always play in this game now aren't booked as the favorites is basically begging for Kansas City money. That is something we can talk to with Dave Sharapan about, though, who will be joining us here in about an hour and a half on our show. Do keep eyes on the Eagles, who are right there at the top. Much further down, though, 8th overall to win Super Bowl 59. We'll dive into those odds a little bit. We'll also dive into the NBA's MVP market. Tonight, we have a 3-game slate in the association, which is our final bit of action until we hit the All-Star game. We're going to have All-Star weekend. We'll talk about that plenty tomorrow. But there's been movement here. What do we know? We know that Joel Embiid is out. Definitively, games too many missed. It's unfortunate. But again, the amount of time that he's going to miss, he was always going to drop out of this race as is. It has left Nikola Jokic at minus 160, but Jokic is not having the caliber of season that I think lines up with his prior MVPs. At least that's how it feels. So does that leave him vulnerable? Well, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and this incredible Thunder team, who've got a great record to boot, are going to be right in the mix. We saw a straw poll from ESPN come out. It can be predictive, and we know it moves markets. Jokic ended up winning it. SGA did come in second. Giannis, Luka, Kawhi in the mix a little bit. You see these guys there. Jalen Brunson, I'll just say this. Go through and look right now, and you figure out the argument that Brunson has over Donovan Mitchell outside of playing in New York. I mean, Donovan's playing better ball, definitively. Every advanced metric, scoring more per game, basically same amount of assists per game, rebounds, more efficient from the field, better record. And don't tell me, oh, well, he's on a much better team. That's nonsense. That team's been injured all year long. Mobley, Garland, Jared Allen have all missed time. Donovan Mitchell clearly should be ahead of Jalen Brunson in this race, but Brunson plays in New York. That's what it is. And people have been saying, do you think Brunson's MVP? No. By the way, this 85-1, it's a lot of movement for Brunson. He's not going to win the award. So it is what it is. Maybe he finishes top 5. Time will tell. This list of names, though, we will see. Well, I was going to say, pardon me. I was going to say we would see all of them at All-Star Weekend. I feel uncertain, though, if everybody's going to be fully healthy by the time we get there. Kawhi Leonard did not play in the Clippers last game before the All-Star break. A win that the Clips did have last night, though, in Golden State. That team on tonight's slate. Let's look at the 3 games that we have for everybody tonight here in the NBA. The Warriors and the Jazz with a makeup spot, which is beefing up this slate. Thank goodness. I don't know. The NBA, it's just, I don't know, nobody cares about the NBA scheduling process, but what are we doing? It's like the final, doesn't this looks like, let's just go home and get this over with, right? These type of games here. But we got a short number, both teams on the back-to-back. Again, it is a makeup game. It is what it is. Milwaukee laying a ton to this ravaged Memphis team, but the Doc Rivers stuff has been worse than expected. The idea was Doc comes in, wins games, and then lets everybody down in the playoffs. He's just letting everybody down right off of the gate. Giannis questionable for this game, so it's something we have to keep our eyes on. Minnesota just beat up on Portland. Ant Edwards had a big game. We'll see if he can do that again. Tiger Woods made the people some money this morning. There was a FanDuel boost out there from minus 280 to plus 100. 3+ birdies in his round 1. Secured that through the first 6 holes. 5 total birdies for Tiger. Shot 1 over par at the Genesis Invitational. So, look, Tiger's going to be right in the mix there. Potential to make that cut. And what we know is whether or not you believe Tiger Woods can win this, whether or not you are interested in betting on Tiger, most are. Tiger's always heavily bet on in any event that he plays. First time back in a while, wearing the new Sunday Red logo as well. Let's get a quick pick on the board. We're going to go through our full card throughout this hour, at the top of hour 2 as well. But we're going to the college ranks here and going to the Purdue backcourt. Fletcher Lawyer over 1.5 made threes. This is a spot where you try and take advantage of what the market is giving you. One book had this priced at minus 128. Another priced it at plus 165. That type of gap is basically enough for me to get involved here. But also for Lawyer, coming off of a game where he missed this, shot it poorly at home. He makes nearly 2 per game at home, shooting better than 43%. I think the volume will be there for Fletcher Lawyer. And he's one of 2 college basketball player props that I'll be on tonight. I've got 2 other sides on the college game that I'm excited to get into. We'll keep breaking it down. It's Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid.
I'm sort of starting to figure out where these Canadian guys play well, bro. Not Hawaii, not California. Give me a Canadian in Ohio, Ken. Give me a Canadian in Michigan. Give me a Canadian at the Waste Management.
Good old Charlie Hoffman, the representative of Waste Management, played the best tournament of his life in the 8 years and lost in the playoff to the Canadian. It turned out to be like a wicked tournament. Shout out to Nick Taylor, gave BC's finest.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
It is a big I told you so if Mac Jones comes back and Mayo keeps him and the Patriots don't draft a quarterback at number 3. But the fan base is a big problem. I mean, you bring back
the fan base will be fine if they win.
There's the if. There's the if. If they win, fan base won't care if you're quarterback in the Patriots if they win.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Caravan came back. They did have a couple of transfers here. The reality is UConn is every bit as talented and dangerous as they were 1 year ago.
If there's a guy, Joe Ranieri, that for one game could take a bunch of cast-offs and steal a game, Name's Eric Spolster.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Another reason why they wanted the deadline is the number is 7. Those are the tradable first-round picks the New York Knicks have. And that could be something to look out for in the future. Does New York back it up and throw a ton of picks to a team like Dallas, maybe in the future, to get Luka Doncic?
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back with you here. It's Game Time Decisions. I'm now joined by Brady Cannon, who's going to help us break down the Genesis Invitational. Brady, appreciate you taking some time with us on a Thursday night.
Hey, good to be back with you, Kevin. And yeah, this is a fantastic tournament. One of my favorite tournaments outside of the majors, year in and year out. I love this golf course. I dream about maybe getting to play this golf course one day. But it's just a fantastic tournament year in and year out because the course is difficult. You have a tremendous field, and nothing has changed this year. Maybe this is not necessarily a change, but it's the first time in a while that we've seen Tiger Woods. And, of course, that brings everything to another level.
Yeah, and let's start there because, and you know it well, right, Brady? It doesn't matter whether you think he can win it or not. This guy's going to get more outright bets than anybody else if he's in the field. He did help out some people with some odds boosts, racking up a couple of birdies here through the opening 6 holes. Finished ultimately, though, 1 over in this opening round. He's T53. What have you made of Tiger's first round back?
Yeah, Kevin, you're exactly right. People love to bet on Tiger no matter what. And I wrote an article earlier in the week. He was heavy in every market, just about every market. He was, the most highest percentage ticket count in the outright market as far as top 10s, top 5, top 20s. They were betting him there. They were betting him to have a bogey-free round, betting on him to make an eagle. They were betting him every which way they could. And you know what? You're right. He made some people some money there, having 3 birdies in the first 6 holes, 5 birdies in total on his round, but 6 bogeys. And he was okay off the tee. He was really good off the tee. He gained strokes off the tee and was 26th in the field with the driver in the hand. But he lost strokes on approach. 55th out of 70 guys in the field was Tiger on approach. He lost strokes around the green. He was ranked 49th out of 70, and he lost strokes putting, 53rd out of 70. Out of 70 players in this field, again, 67th in scrambling. He was only able to get up and down from around the green 2 out of 8 times, and then he was 42nd in greens in regulation, only hit 10 out of 18 greens in regulation. Now, the good news is he's not very wayward with the driver. He's been good with the driver. If he can just hit some greens in regulation and start holing a few putts, he could turn this thing around. To have these statistics and still be only 1 over par probably wasn't too bad a day for Tiger.
Yeah, look, it's an incredible breakdown there. I think for people, the question is, make, miss, cut. I don't at the moment see anyone offering live odds, probably because I think some guys are still out there, including, a guy like Scotty Scheffler right now, which is going to help set that bar. But it's something for us to keep our eye on. And as much as we could talk Tiger only here, Brady, I want to go to the top of the leaderboard because it's a name people are very familiar with. And that is Patrick Cantlay, 7 under, and the live tournament favorite at plus 360. Only other golfer that is underneath 11-1 right now, just using the FanDuel market, is the guy I just mentioned. That would be Scotty Scheffler at plus 500.
Yeah, and Scheffler just recently made a bogey, too. He was one shot better here before we came on. But Scotty, has a few holes left to play. I think he's through about 13 now. So he's still got about 4 holes left to play or so. And that's why his odds are still low. But Cantlay with just a magical round. And Cantlay went to school up the street at UCLA. So he's a California kid. He knows this type of turf, the Poana greens, the Kikuyu fairways. He's very familiar with this golf course. He's done well here before. He was second in this field after one round. Again, they're not quite finished yet. But as of now, he is second in this field for strokes gained putting. So he was really hot with the flat stick today. He gained nearly 4 strokes on the field with the putter. Now, what's tough about that, Kevin, is the putter is very volatile. You can be really good off the tee. You can be really good with your irons. You can be really good around the greens. But the putter can go hot and cold in a minute. So it's very possible that putter could go cold tomorrow, and all of a sudden this guy's, off the pace a few shots. So I wouldn't necessarily run to the window because this guy is out in front early, because a lot of it was reliant on that putter, and that's a part of the game that can go the other direction in a hurry. And same being said, you can putt really lousy one day and putt really well the next. You can't necessarily just base your entire wager on a guy's good or bad putting, because it is a very volatile skill set. I also wanted to mention to you, Kevin, and this is really something to take note of for people that are thinking of making in-game bets here before the cut on Friday afternoon. There's only 70 players in this field, as I mentioned. The cut will be the top 50 and ties, and anybody that is within 10 shots of the lead. That's going to be almost the entire field making the cut. Right now, there are only 2 guys in this field out of 70 that aren't within 10 shots of the lead. So, anybody you're betting to miss the cut, Kevin, you're probably looking at maybe 6-8 guys at the most that miss this cut, and it might be less. So you're really trying to find a needle in a haystack making that play.
Interesting. But it keeps the pressure on when you have that many guys playing weekend golf. Tell me, Brady, who else is catching your attention with most of everybody finishing up their opening round of play?
I did make an in-game bet today, Kevin, on Will Zalatoris, and I liked Zalatoris. I like Zalatoris every week, but he's coming off of an injury. When he returned to action in December, as did Tiger, the Zalatoris had actually been out of action longer than Tiger had. Now Zalatoris has returned to the tour. He's played a few times, and I didn't quite know if he was healthy yet, so I did not play him pre-tournament. He came out guns a-blazing, and I think he was about 6 under on the front 9. 6 under through 8 holes is when I made the play on him and got him at 12-1. Now, he's a little higher now. He's at 14-1, I believe, because he finally cooled off. But if he continues to go at this pace, this guy's going to be single-digit odds here pretty soon. He was 13th in strokes gained off the tee, 25th on approach, 6th in greens in regulation, and he gained strokes with the putter, and he gained strokes around the green. He had a very good all-around game going today. And most importantly, Kevin, he looks healthy to me. So I think Willie Z is someone you can look at. Jordan Spieth, I thought, played very, very well today. All around, he was very good. The only place that he lost strokes was off the tee, and just barely lost like a 1/10 of a stroke off the tee. So if Spieth can get it together off the tee, he's going to be a player here too. And another guy to look out for, I believe, is Ludwig Åberg, the young second-year player on tour, nearly a rookie. I don't know if he's technically a rookie. Last year, I guess, was technically his rookie year. But the young Swede has now top 15 in the world rankings. He is one heck of a player. This is his first time ever playing Riviera, but you can still find him at about 25-1, and he's only about 4 shots back right now.
Does Aberg have that first win yet, Brady?
No, he may have won once last season. I can't recall for sure, Kevin. It feels like he did win once last season. Oh, he's been red hot. There's no doubt about it. Oh, he won the RSM
event in November.
There you go.
But
I thought he had one.
That is a name. Yeah, that's a name I heard a lot about down the stretch last year. And, I mean, I didn't realize he had climbed all the way up into the top 15. But, with golf, right, it's ebbs and flows, and there's new waves. And, he looks like one of the next new wave guys. And, man, it just to see him kind of capitalize on that. Brady, we appreciate it. We'll potentially have to check in again. It's going to be a busy week at the Genesis.
Yeah, enjoy it, man. It ought to be a good one. All the best are here. Will be fun.
No doubt. All right, that is Brady Cannon helping us break it down. Keeping eyes on not just Tiger Woods, but the entire field, helping us get set for a huge NHL slate. Joe Madden on Game Time Decisions is next.
I'm sort of starting to figure out where these Canadian guys play well, bro. Not Hawaii, not California. Give me a Canadian in Ohio, Ken. Give me a Canadian in Michigan. Give me a Canadian at the Waste Management.
Good old Charlie Hoffman, the representative of Waste Management, played the best tournament of his life in 8 years and lost in the playoff to the Canadian. It turned out to be like a wicked tournament. Shout out to Nick Taylor, gave BC's finest.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
It is a big I told you so if Mac Jones comes back and Mayo keeps him and the Patriots don't draft a quarterback at number 3. But the fan base is a big problem. I mean, you bring back
fan base will be fine if they win.
There's the if. There's the if. If they win, fan base won't care if you're quarterback in the Patriots if they win.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Caravan came back. They did have a couple of transfers here. The reality is UConn is every bit as talented and dangerous as they were 1 year ago.
If there's a guy, Joe Ranieri, that for one game could take a bunch of cast-offs and steal a game, his name's Eric Spoelstra.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Another reason why they wanted the deadline is the number is 7. Those are the tradable first-round picks the New York Knicks have. And that could be something to look out for in the future. Does New York back it up and throw a ton of picks to a team like Dallas? Maybe in the future, they get Luka Doncic.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage Late
This sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back right here on Sports Grid, Kevin Walsh, Joe Madden, breaking down the NHL slate. Joe will really be breaking it down. Maybe I'll find a sizzle play or two. But, Joe, how are you? It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm doing great, Kevin. It's such a loaded slate in the NHL today. I can't wait to get into these games.
All right, let's start in Boston. The Bruins are going to host the Kraken. They're a minus 190-ish favorite to win this game. Total on the lower side of things, though, at 5.5. What are you looking for here with Boston and Seattle?
Yeah, Boston, absolutely the way that I want to go with my money here. But you look at that line and it's pretty juicy. This team absolutely needs to get back on track. They've got the Florida Panthers chasing them here in the Atlantic, so they can't afford to lose this game. What I'm going to do with it, we know David Pastrnak comes out so phenomenally strong. He's their number one go-to guy for all of the points that he's been able to accumulate. I'm going to take him for the anytime goal and parlay that with the Boston Bruins to win. You're getting a great plus money combining the two together. Now, you can take Pastrnak just for that anytime goal. That's a minus 105. But I love this parlay here because I do think the Bruins are the right side of this game. And that's coming in at plus 168, Kevin.
All right, listen, Pasta, I know, has been having himself a great season for Boston. So a little same-game parlay action there. It lines up nicely. What about this Buffalo Sabres team here? A home dog against the Florida Panthers. Where do you see some value in this game?
Okay, I've got to look at this one, and I was a little worried jumping on the full game total because we know the Florida Panthers can absolutely roll hot and put up enough goals themselves to push this one to the over. Now, this team is so strong defensively. I really do think they're going to limit the Sabres' ability to find the back of Stolar's net. So I'm going to take the Buffalo Sabres team total. You take it under 2.5. That's coming in at plus 114. Of course, I'm always looking for that plus money out there. And I know this team is off that big win versus the LA Kings 7-0, getting that shutout, putting up a ton of goals. And the Florida Panthers on the second night of a back-to-back. Don't worry about the Florida Panthers on the second night of a back-to-back. This defense is going to come out phenomenally strong. And we saw the slow start out of them in the last game, last night versus the Penguins. They are doing that on purpose. We heard the press conferences after the game saying we're looking to wear out our opponent, get those hard hits in before we start scoring. So I do think the Florida Panthers will play a really strong game here versus the Buffalo Sabres and limit their ability to find the back of the net, Kevin.
All right, there you go. Florida laying a number in Buffalo, but with good reason. That full game total checks in right now at 6.5. So does a game in Toronto where the Maple Leafs are hosting the Philadelphia Flyers. The 6.5 is pointing towards the under, Joe. Is that the direction that you're looking as well?
Yeah, I've got to look at the under in this one. We look at the Philadelphia Flyers and their ability to really limit their opponents, especially on the road. In the last 5 road games, Kevin, it's unbelievable. They're only allowing an average of 1.78 goals per game. Now, Ersson, he had a little bit of hiccups. When he became the number one goalie here, he was solid before that. So I think it was a little bit mental. But I do think he's back on track. And Samsonov, ever since being put down to the AHL to clear his mind a little bit and coming back, has been solid. Now, the Philadelphia Flyers so strong on that kill. They should be able to limit Toronto if they do end up in the box, but they have to really limit their time in that penalty box because the Toronto Maple Leafs will be able to bring that heat here. Their power play is converting at a nice number, 26.2%. So the Flyers need to play a clean game, and this one will stay under that total of 6.5, I think, Kevin.
That money line on Toronto looks maybe a bit shorter than I would have expected at minus 156. I know that's usually out of the range for people, but definitely something to keep eyes on there. What about the Ducks? Anaheim here. I know this is an offense, Joe, that you don't always trust. They go to Ottawa, and they're a considerable underdog in this game. How do you feel?
Yeah, they're just coming off a shutout versus the Montreal Canadiens. They couldn't put any goals on Montreal, allowed Montreal to come out and put 5. I can't trust this team offensively to be able to find the back of Korpisalo's net. Now, Korpisalo for the Ottawa Senators hasn't been the season that I've wanted to see out of him, but I do think he can have a fantastic game here. Ottawa has been rolling hot, so I like their ability, their defense to come out nice and strong. And again, for the Ducks, for them to not light the lamp tonight. I'm looking for their team total under 2.5. We look at the last couple of games between these two. They've gone under in the last 3 meetings, this number of 2.5. And in the last 10, they haven't gone over this in more than 4 of those games. So 6 of the 10 have stayed under this number. I just don't trust this team. And I think they're hitting an Ottawa team that's rolling hot at the moment, and they're going to look to come out and really limit the Ducks in this game.
Now, I am curious, with a team like Ottawa, though, who has a losing record on the season, Joe, and I know, and maybe that's why you're isolating it towards a team total, but do you ever get worried? I know, obviously, the Ducks significantly worse, but do you worry about a big number like this with what is still overall a losing group like Ottawa?
I do. Yeah, I start to look at that total and I worry about it because we wonder how many goals the Ottawa Senators are going to be able to put up. They've had their struggles and they've had their struggles offensively, but I think in this matchup with them rolling hot, this is kind of a confidence thing for the Ottawa Senators as well. I actually thought at one point they were going to be able to make the playoffs. I did think this team would be able to push deep. They've got all the talent on this team, and they just show those struggles. I'd look at them in the first period here. I think they come out hot in the first period, but that's why I'm staying off the full game because they've shown their inconsistencies out there, Kevin.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Let's take a stop here at the biggest game on the board, which is Tampa Bay and Colorado. It's not often, Joe, we see the Avs priced as a dog, but a trip to Tampa Bay is usually enough to make that so. It's a big-time total at 6.5. How did you start your breakdown for this game?
I started looking at this, and right away, the 6.5, way too highly juiced. You're laying minus like 148 to the over, so you'd have to fire that one up to a 7 and then risk getting the push. I think these two teams can start off hot straight out of the gate. I'm going to look at both teams to score in the first period. I think it's a 2-1 first period. I really do think the Lightning will be up after the first period, but both teams to score in the first period looks like the safer way to go at plus 138. We know the Avs are better than what they have been playing like as of late, but this is the last game of a road trip, and we have here the Tampa Bay Lightning, their first game home off a 4-game road trip. So lots of situations where I like to fade both of these teams, but we know one thing, and that is that both of these teams are able to find the back of the net. It's the defenses that let them down in certain situations. Now, the Lightning will be able to score on Colorado. They have a backup goalie in there. And again, this defense on the road, just something I haven't been trusting. And then looking at Andre Vasilevsky, I think if he gets hit early, we might see him tighten up in this game. But both of these teams, so powerful offensively, Kevin. I can't see this not being a 2-1 or a 1-1 first period. So I love the both teams to score and the plus money we're getting on it.
I was a little interested in potentially a Nate McKinnon anytime goal scorer at plus 100. He's not scored in 4 straight games, which is the longest run of his season going back all the way towards November. Were there any player props you were considering in this big game, Joe?
Yeah, so many that you can start looking at here. I would also look for the Colorado Avalanche at Cale Makar. Cale Makar, an offensive defenseman, you're getting so much more value than looking at, say, Nathan McKinnon. Nathan McKinnon coming in at plus 100, I believe. Cale Makar coming in at plus 330. I like looking at those players that we're getting more value. Stamkos here for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I know his number was nice. You're getting great. I think it was about plus 200, plus 220 for the anytime goal. Or Hagel here for the Lightning. I think both of those players have every ability to find the back of the net. This game being such a high scoring game, I do think this is exactly where you want to hit those player props. Look at those points. Most of these players, so you're going to have to look at 2+ point. Like if you look at Braden Point, you're going to have to take him 2+ points. It's hard to do in these games, but it's not out of the realm of being able to be done.
All right, all stuff that we will be keeping our eyes on. Maybe a little more under the radar is this game in Jersey tonight, not too far from myself, which is the Devils and the Kings. Basically a pick-em line here. Joe, what advantages are you seeing?
This is going to be really interesting because we have the Kings off their worst loss since back in the 2022 season when the Boston Bruins did exactly the same as the Buffalo Sabres did to this Kings team, winning 7-0. So you know you're going to get more out of the Kings, but how much more? This team has been struggling so much defensively, and we know that was really the MO of this team before. So looking here against the New Jersey Devils, hard team to really stop offensively. I do think the Devils are able to find the back of the net here of David Raich coming in for the LA Kings and Nico Dawes for the Devils. I'm going to look at that first period to go over 1.5 goals. That's coming in at -138. I do think both of these teams can have the ability to score in that first period. But instead of taking both teams to score where you're going to get more value, I could see it also going 2 goals for one of these teams. So I love the over 1.5. I know you're going to have to lay some juice here, but I do think it's worth it. And I think Jack Hughes comes out and has a phenomenal game. He's scored in the last 2 games since he's been back, and he just keeps rolling nice and hot. So I like him. And then Kopitar, another player you can look at here for the LA Kings to score that anytime goal, that +260 on him. He's been very strong when playing the Devils.
And then just one more to get to, because Joe is the best. She has actually gotten to all of these games that are prior to 7 o'clock. It's the Rangers and it's the Canadiens. New York is a big favorite at home, Joe.
Yeah, New York a big favorite, coming off a nice win over the Calgary Flames. Now, the New York Rangers have proven they can win in these low-scoring battles, and we have great goaltending here tonight. Montreal putting in Sam Montembeault. We can trust in him to limit the ability of the Rangers to score. The Rangers, I still do think, get the win, but I think you look at this one and just take this under that total. Jonathan Quick coming in tonight for the New York Rangers. I think we got a goaltending battle in this, so under 6.5.
All right, perfect. Guess what? If you want more hockey, we're going to check back in with Joe at 7:10, so make sure you stay locked here on Game Time Decisions. Coach James Young up next.
I'm sort of starting to figure out where these Canadian guys play well, bro. Not Hawaii, not California. Give me a Canadian in Ohio, Ken. Give me a Canadian in Michigan. Give me a Canadian at the Waste Management.
Good old Charlie Hoffman, the representative of Waste Management, played the best tournament of his life in the 8 years and lost in the playoff to the Canadian. It turned out to be like a wicked tournament. Shout out to Nick Taylor, gave BC's finest.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
It is a big I told you so if Mac Jones comes back and Mayo keeps him and the Patriots don't draft a quarterback at number 3. But the fan base is a big problem. I mean, you bring back
fan base will be fine if they win.
There's the if. There's the if. If they win, fan base won't care if you're quarterback in the Patriots if they win.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Caravan came back. They did have a couple of transfers here. The reality is UConn is every bit as talented and dangerous as they were 1 year ago.
If there's a guy, Joe Ranieri, that for one game could take a bunch of cast-offs and steal a game, his name's Eric Spoelstra.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Another reason why they wanted the deadline is the number is 7. Those are the tradable first-round picks the New York Knicks have. And that could be something to look out for in the future. Does New York back it up and throw a ton of picks to a team like Dallas? Maybe in the future, they get Luka Doncic.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back to the right here on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh. I'm joined by Coach James Young. Jay, why is he starting already? Why are you already starting with the theatrics? What's wrong?
I know we don't want to sabotage the show. I'm sorry, but I just get this report that Gallinari signing with the Bucks. And did you hear who it was between the Bucks, the Clippers, the Cavs, and the Bulls? What
Shout out Chicago. Shout out Chicago. Trying to get in the mix. Big Eastern Conference play-in push, brother. Listen, they're trying. You and I have a lot of big picture NBA that I'm sure we'll do tomorrow, assuming you can make the time for me, my good friend. Let's start with tonight's games here. Memphis and Milwaukee. The Grizz are catching a ton. We have no idea if Giannis is going to play in this game. So are you going to even bother with this matchup tonight?
I may go with the Bucks in the first half, Kevin. You know, it's one of those things. I kind of look at the Nets game last night. Some of these teams that are want to win or are really competitive will go for it, and then the teams that are young that aren't good are just playing out the string. Memphis is playing out the string for the rest of the year. So I may look to play the first half, maybe see the Bucks jump out to a big lead, and then I get nervous when Thanasis gets in the game because he's just a hot mess. So I don't want to touch that game with the backdoor coverage. So if anything, Milwaukee first half.
All right. I'm very curious to see if Giannis plays tonight. I was going to be on some Bobby Portis props. They all locked because of the Giannis news. I wanted them with Giannis playing. What's going to happen is if Giannis doesn't play, which I now feels likely, all the Portis stuff comes up. I'm going to have to reassess. I'll let you guys know. We'll have plenty of time here tonight to do that. Let's talk about what you are going to bet, Coach. And that's Klay Thompson. Golden State on a back-to-back goes to Utah. What do you like?
Oh, I'm going to Klay Thompson again. I went to this a couple of nights ago, over 21.5 points, rebounds, assists. He has been playing a little bit better, Kevin. I think he got to 26 points, if I'm not mistaken, last game. He's being guarded by Jordan Clarkson, who plays no goddamn defense to begin with. And the other thing is this, now that the trade deadline is passed and he's not gotten moved, Kevin, I think this makes Klay maybe more dangerous, that he can relax and he knows he's going to be there for the rest of the year. And folks, he's going to be playing for a paycheck. I don't think he goes back to Golden State. He's got to show that he's healthy and puts up good numbers. I like Klay in this matchup over 21.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
The Klay stuff is interesting because initially it was, Klay, they could move on from him. Klay doesn't care. Klay wants his money. And now I feel like they didn't move on from him. And Klay's like, I'll take less money as long as I can stay. That whole situation is going to be really interesting to watch play out. Just finishing out the NBA, Minnesota once again is in Portland. Are you going to play this one?
Yeah, Kevin, you know, when you were in, and thank goodness you're feeling better. A couple nights ago when I came in with Joe, I took the over team total. I think it was 111.5. I'm just going to go right to them minus a point to this matchup. Like I said, another team playing for their seeding. They want that one seed. I know Portland's been a little bit better at times. I just think this is a matchup where they can get into them. Do remember that it was 121-109 earlier. So I do think this game gets going. And if you look at it, if I'm not mistaken, I think Minnesota has won 3 out of the last 4 games. A couple of them have been by blowout, including a game earlier this year where they won 116-93. Give me the Timberwolves minus the points tonight.
Listen, I didn't play it. I kind of wanted to take a piece of Ant. Ant, she's coming off of scoring 40 on this team. And he kind of, like, if he gives you 30, kind of gives you 30 again, right? It's not 30 every night, but the problem is I just don't know where he's at heading into the All-Star game. It's hard to get up for Portland twice right before the break. That was my only concern, JY. Let's hit the college game here. You're going to get involved with some Big Ten hoops?
Yes, and I'm sorry, folks. This game has tipped off, so just make sure you check the lines live. I'm going to go at Rutgers minus 3.5 at home. Rutgers is the number 2 ranked defense in efficiency. Playing in the RAC is trouble. And ready for this, folks? Rutgers is down 12-5 already. So this could be an opportunity to jump in Rutgers. I'm in New Jersey, so I can't see the live line. If it's close to even, I think Rutgers comes back. They'll slow this game down. Since they've gotten a transfer back that was in all the hot water with Iowa State, they're 3-0. RAC is a tough place to play. I'm not saying Rutgers makes the NCAA tournament. They won't, but they will be dangerous in the Big Ten tournament, and I think they come back and win this game. Give me Rutgers.
And then lastly, JY, for you on the college side of a game that I'm going to play as well. So talk to me. What do you like here with UCLA and Colorado?
Kev, I'm going to go with the under 137.5. A UCLA team that, although it's been disappointing, Kevin, may have the best defense in the Pac-12, I do believe, during conference play. Mick Cronin has slowed the game down and has made it a crawl. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think 7 out of the last 8 games has gone under this number. In order for UCLA to try and win this game, Kev, they got to make it a dogfight. And I think they'll play it at their pace and their tempo. Give me under 137.5 in UCLA versus Colorado.
Yeah, I'm going to just take the points with UCLA. The Buffs have been basically useless against any good defense that they've played. If you look so far in the Pac-12, there's about a handful of teams that are inside the top 50 in defensive efficiency, and Colorado is 1-6 against the spread in 7 games played against those teams, with the one cover coming by a half a point. 0-4 straight up and against the spread on the road against those teams. And a few times they've been a dog. So I like the under look there from you, Coach. But I'm going to play UCLA to win that basketball game outright. Took them plus 1.5. Let me stop quickly and ask you about another West Coast basketball situation. I am personally invested, which is part of the reason I bring it up. But it is something that is going to become a much bigger story the closer we get to conference tournament weekend and when we get to that time of year. So if you look at a lot of the big brackets, you can go to anywhere you want. SportsGrid, we have them here. You can go to Lunardi. It doesn't matter. JY, Gonzaga is still, for a lot of people, on the outside looking in. And they just won at Rupp. Ken Pom has them as the 20th team overall, but it's the lack of quality wins. I don't know if winning at St. Mary's, which is still on the calendar in the regular season, would be enough to solidify this. But, Coach, we might get to the WCC tournament, and Gonzaga will need to win it to get into this tournament. Otherwise, they're going to miss out entirely.
And if you really think about it, if you look at their non-conference schedule, yes, they have a 10-point loss to Purdue, but you start looking around, 13-point loss to UConn, which, let's be honest, Kevin, that's not bad, considering what UConn has been doing to teams all year. But you're right. It's their quality wins that don't look like quality. Normally, a 13-point win against USC would be a quality win. It's not this year. Usually, a 5-point win versus UCLA would be considered a quality win. It's not this year. So they don't have that quality win. And if you look at the fact of looking at a team like St. Mary's, who's ranked number 18 in the country at 20-6, you start looking down their schedule, and Colorado State by 3 when they were ranked, like, where is their quality win? I mean, I just watched Seton Hall beat Xavier by 20, and they lost to Xavier by 20. So I think it's also the fact that St. Mary's doesn't have the quality wins as well. They need each other, Kevin, out of conference to build each other up. So if one gets knocked out, they both go in. There's the kind of situation, Kevin, that the WCC could be a one-bid league this year. It is a possibility.
Again, if we get to that WCC tournament and Mark Few needs to win it to get in, I refuse to believe he will not win the WCC tournament, but only time will tell. Let me ask you about something else, JY. On the Pac-12 board, USC is a 1.5-point favorite against Utah. A few games ago, Collier came back, and he's starting to play better. I'm on him tonight, 16.5 points. This is one of the most disappointing teams in the country, and I know a lot has gone wrong, and I mean a lot. Collier missed a chunk of time. Obviously, the Bronny stuff, preseason, comes back late. I don't know how much, if any of that is still affecting him now. But what is going on with USC, they're one of these teams, the talent is still there, right? They're never going to get an outright bid. But I'm curious, being a 1.5-point favorite at home against Utah tonight is a start. It's certainly some respect from the odds makers.
It is some respect from the odds makers. And I'm going to say this. If there's a team that is tremendously underachieved, Kevin, that can make a run and go win a conference tournament, it is USC. Well, I mean, let's be honest, because they have the talent with that backcourt of Collier and Ellis, where if those two get hot, Kevin, for 4 games, you know and I know. We saw Georgetown do it a couple of years ago, right? You get hot at the right time with the talent. Now, Georgetown, that was like lightning. I mean, that's the only good thing Patrick Ewing did at Georgetown besides play there. I'm sorry, Patrick. I love you to death. But I just do think that is a team that can do it. I also think, folks, I don't care if I'm about to say this. Villanova may have started to slowly turn the corner. Now, they just got a 40-point win against Seton Hall. I was there on Sunday, and I looked at someone that I know really close to college basketball and said, they've never looked like this all year. So these teams that are underperforming, that have veteran guys, they can turn it on, Kevin. You just got to be the better team for a 4-day stretch. I'm not saying they're going to win at USC, but Kevin, if they get 1 and if they get 2, I would put it past them to get all 4 and win the Pac-12 tournament.
Yeah, I think, again, it has to start somewhere, though, right? Like, they just got cracked by 30 against Stanford. So it has to start somewhere. I will say, it's a hindsight. The Bronny stuff is all very complicated. There are some people who want to have this straight, direct conversation of, how can this kid be a first-round pick? Relax, okay? What played out in the preseason is hard for us on the outside to know how much, if at all, that is factoring in. And this whole season for USC, JY, I mean, Andy Enfield, I don't even know how you survive this. You are a preseason top 25 team. You land that caliber of a class. They're pitiful. And it's hard to excuse that. And again, it'll be interesting to see if they can create any momentum heading into Pac-12 play. JY, you get excited for All-Star Weekend? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, hell no, I ain't excited for All-Star Weekend. I will say this really quick. Y'all gonna think I'm crazy. Sabrina Ionescu is gonna beat Steph Curry in a 3-point shooting contest. I'm putting it right now. I've seen Sabrina shoot personally. She could shoot. They play a game in Oregon that I saw her once called red light, green light. 5 spots, shoot the 3 until you miss 2 in a row. The girl shot for 35 minutes, and I walked out of the gym, and I think she was on spot number 3. So I think she's going to win that overall. But really quick, think about this, Kevin. Ohio State fired Holtman today. Juwan Howard, I don't care what it says, he can be fired. If Cal doesn't get to the second weekend, he could be gone. Andy Enfield, he could be gone. Kyle Neptune, Villanova, he could be gone. The number of high-profile jobs are going to be interesting. Who gets them? Lamont Paris has done a great job in South Carolina. Does Dusty May get a big promotion? Does Shaheen Holloway leave Seton Hall? There's going to be a lot of interesting things that happen in the offseason in college basketball.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it'll be interesting to see who returns, who goes, who transfers. It's the state of college basketball. Coach, we appreciate it. Caitlin Clark, by the way, she's making history tonight. We'll be right back.
I'm sort of starting to figure out where these Canadian guys play well, bro. Not Hawaii, not California. Give me a Canadian in Ohio, Ken. Give me a Canadian in Michigan. Give me a Canadian at the Waste Management.
Good old Charlie Hoffman, the representative of Waste Management, played the best tournament of his life in the 8 years and lost in the playoff to the Canadian. It turned out to be like a wicked tournament. Shout out to Nick Taylor, gave BC's finest.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
It is a big I told you so if Mac Jones comes back and Mayo keeps him, and the Patriots don't draft a quarterback at number 3. But the fan base is a big problem. I mean, you bring back
fan base will be fine if they win.
There's the if. There's the if. If they win, fan base won't care if you're quarterback in the Patriots if they win.
The Bostonian versus the Buck.
Caravan came back. They did have a couple of transfers here. The reality is UConn is every bit as talented and dangerous as they were 1 year ago.
If there's a guy, Joe Ranieri, that for one game can take a bunch of cast-offs and steal a game, his name's Eric Spoelstra.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Another reason why they wanted the deadline is the number is 7. Those are the tradable first-round picks the New York Knicks have. And that could be something to look out for in the future. Does New York back it up and throw a ton of picks to a team like Dallas? Maybe in the future, they get Luka Doncic.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back right here on SportsGrid, and I figured why not give the people a little more SportsGrid? You know, we got to give you some picks, and this morning, the one and only Donnie Rightside stepped up to the plate with an NBA player prop. Here's his favorite look on tonight's 3-game slate.
I'm going to give you a couple numbers here, Ben. First, 16, 16, 16, and 19. That's the last 4 games here for Steph Curry firing from three-point range. How about the makes here, Ben? 11, 9, 7, and 9. Those are the makes for Steph Curry tonight. If you take a look, 5.5 is the number at the FanDuel Sportsbook, plus 116 on his made 3-point shots. He's knocking down 6 tonight. I'm taking that plus money down. Let's go, Steph Curry. Don't let me down.
DRS there with a little rally cry to the chef. I will say, for Steph, whose 3-point prop is now on the move, this typically was 4.5. It is now up to 5.5. You have him making 6+ threes. You should be looking at his points prop, which is 29.5. 16 and 5 to the over of 29.5 when making 6 or more threes, as opposed to when he scores 30+, which has happened 22 times. It's 15 and 7. He makes 6+ in those games. It's semantics. They typically go hand in hand. Ironically enough, during this little run here, 4 straight games of 7+ made threes by Steph Curry. It was against the Utah Jazz on the road where he made 7 threes and only scored 25 points. The point still serves, though. If Steph is going to make 6, 7, 8 threes, 30 points is usually going to come. If he's going to continue to shoot with the volume that he has been these past couple of games, either side, it makes sense. The plus money on that 5.5 has been dwindling down for Steph Curry, who's coming off of a 40-point performance. The Warriors battling back to 500. The Clippers handed him a loss last night. The Warriors definitely want to keep momentum going in Utah tonight. I have an NBA player prop in that game, which we are going to get to And Davis Maddock is also going to stop by and give us his same-game parlay for that matchup. We're back in less than a minute on Game Time Decisions. Live on SportsGrid, the opportunity to go through tonight's card still sits as we've got a lot of West Coast action and later starts really overall. The earliest tip for me is 8:30, whether that's NBA or college. So let's get Davis Maddock the opportunity to jump in here and go to Warriors Jazz for his same game parlay.
All right, guys, we are returning to the association for another same-game parlay over on the FanDuel Sportsbook. We are going to take a look at the Golden State Warriors traveling to the Utah Jazz. I'm buying this run that the Warriors are on right now. In the words of Steph Curry, they're pretty average, but Curry is not playing average. So we're going to begin by taking the Warriors -2.5 at Utah. Pretty big home court advantage for Utah, but the Warriors are just a really difficult matchup for them on the perimeter. Warriors -2.5. We're also taking the over on 238.5. The Warriors' best path to winning this game is a huge Steph Curry performance. He is launching the second most three-pointers per 36 minutes of his career. And I also like tacking on Curry to score 30 or more points in this game. And because we're already on the over, we are also going to take Lauri Markkanen, the all-star candidate, didn't quite make it this year, for the Utah Jazz to score 20 or more points as well. This 4-leg same-game parlay is going to give us plus 625 odds. Warriors -2.5, over 238.5. Curry to score 30 or more, and Markkanen to score 20 or more in this game. Good luck tonight, everybody.
Great breakdown there from Davis Maddock. I like the look on Steph Curry. We just talked about it. Donnie as well. Steph has a lot of people's attention, but also Lauri Markkanen included there by Davis Maddock. And I'm looking at Lauri tonight. Let's first bring in the radio audience here on a Thursday night, Sirius XM, Channel 159. I'm Kevin Walsh with you on Game Time Decisions. The look on Lauri Markkanen is a simple bounce-back spot. 2 straight games under 20 points. He's 2-0 on this season when he goes back-to-back games without scoring 20-plus. Overall, when he doesn't hit 20, he's 7-5 to the over. 7 out of 5 in that next game there. So odds are he typically gets it going. And what you're seeing for Lauri Markkanen is he's gone back-to-back games without shooting 50% from the field. At no point this year has he gone 3 straight without shooting 50% from the field. So I think you can almost guarantee at home tonight as well. He is going to have an efficient night of work. 26 games with 50% or better field goal percentage in games this year for Lauri Markkanen. 18 of those he's gone over 22.5. He's only missed 20-plus 4 times. So a safe leg there for Davis Maddock and something that I like individually. Let's go to the college board here. We mentioned our quick pick, Fletcher Lawyer, over 1.5 made threes. This is a situation where, we get the chance to look around. We get the chance to shop around, and plus 165 on one book, minus 128 on another is almost the entire cap you would need. Now, you have to make sure that you're shopping at the right one, and then you also have to make sure that this bet does cross the finish line here on Fletcher Lawyer. It's since dropped down to plus 135. It's still not bad. 1.9 makes per game at home on 43% shooting, and he's missed this in 2 straight. Only one other time all year long has he gone 3 consecutive games without 2+ made threes, and that was way early season. So expect Fletcher Lawyer to put up a couple of attempts tonight and get him to fall at home against Minnesota. The other college player prop that I'm going to look at is Isaiah Collier over 16.5 points. Maybe my favorite bet on the entire card tonight. If you look at his 2 games since returning, 15 free throws, 16 free throws. That is absolutely massive. Collier's workload has been huge since returning, despite not playing the typical minutes that we were accustomed to prior to the injury, and not having the type of efficiency we were accustomed to prior to the injury. Against Cal, shot 4 of 13 from the field, 0 of 1 from 3, 12 of 16 from the line, scored 20 points in 27 minutes. And then at Stanford, 4 of 8 from the field, 2 of 3 from the field, 8 of 15. Awful from the line, 18 points in 30 minutes. Both games going over this prop, neither game giving us the type of efficiency that we're looking for. 4 for 10.5 is the average from the field, and 10 for 15.5 is the average from the line. 19 points, though, in those 28.5 minutes. I love that opportunity there for Isaiah Collier to get over this prop of 16.5. And then a pair of sides. We mentioned one with Coach, which is going to be UCLA plus 1.5. I think this line's worked against me up to a 2. No problem there. I think they win this game outright. They're the best ATS team in conference play in the Pac-12. Colorado is the worst. Colorado had a great start to their season. They've since shown up here and played their West Coast opponents, and it has not gone well. They've been overvalued consistently. UCLA is red hot. They entered this game on a 5+ game winning streak, and they're going to look to keep that going at home. And here's one of the key things. It's identifiable. You look at the best defenses in this conference. That would be UCLA, Arizona, Arizona State, Washington State. 7 games for Colorado against those teams. 1-6 against the spread. The only cover came by 0.5 point. On the road against those teams, 0-4 straight up at ATS. This is a team, I believe Utah's in that mix as well. This is a team that when they play the best defenses in this conference, it consistently goes wrong. I expect the same tonight. And then lastly, Loyola Marymount catching 15.5 against Gonzaga. This is, I think, Gonzaga getting way too much love off of their win against Kentucky. Give them credit. They got the job done. These teams played 2 weeks ago. Gonzaga was home. Now, Gonzaga did win by 34. They were a 14.5 point favorite. We flip home court, though, and this line is 1.5 points heavier for Gonzaga. Again, let's just call home court advantage worth 2. Worth 2, right? That means that in that first meeting, it would have been 10.5 had that game been at Loyola Marymount. You mean to tell me in a 2-week window, there's been 5 points of separation between what the books believe of Loyola Marymount and Gonzaga? Absolutely not. Give me the 15.5 points. One thing I will say, I really wanted Bobby Portis props. Now, his PRA at the moment, I think you could find a 23.5. This is a number that I was looking at and excited to bet. If Giannis plays, I think we're going to get a lower number, and that's fine. He's 6. So let's just say we get 22.5, which is what this number was earlier in the day before when there was an idea that Giannis could miss this game. Bobby Portis had gone over in 6 out of 9 since Doc joined, had not missed the prop in back-to-backs, and he was obviously coming off of a miss, and he should get plenty of run, right, against this team tonight. Memphis is without everyone. Jaren Jackson Jr. plus all the guys are always without, right? Bane, Morant, just disaster season for them. So there's plenty of opportunity there for Bobby Portis. He's not even been shooting that well. I mean, this is a guy that's shooting about 40% from the field, right? Not hitting his twos since Doc's got there. This is a spot where if you see Giannis in, Bobby Portis numbers drop. We're going to look to get in on those numbers. That is an 8:30 tip tonight. We go back to the rest of the hockey slate with Joe Madden next.
I'm sort of starting to figure out where these Canadian guys play well, bro. Not Hawaii, not California. Give me a Canadian in Ohio, Cam. Give me a Canadian in Michigan. Give me a Canadian at the Waste Management.
Good old Charlie Hoffman, the representative of Waste Management, played the best tournament of his life in the 8 years and lost in the playoff to the Canadian. It turned out to be like a wicked tournament. Shout out to Nick Taylor, gave BC's finest.
Sports Rage Late Night. only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
It is a big I told you so if Mac Jones comes back and Mayo keeps him and the Patriots don't draft a quarterback at number 3. But the fan base is a big problem. I mean, you bring back
fan base will be fine if they win.
There's the if. There's the if. If they win, fan base won't care if you're quarterback in the Patriots if they win.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Caravan came back. They did have a couple of transfers here. The reality is UConn is every bit as talented and dangerous as they were 1 year ago.
If there's a guy, Joe Ranieri, that for one game could take a bunch of cast-offs and steal a game, his name's Eric Spoelstra.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Another reason why they wanted the deadline is the number is 7. Those are the tradable first-round picks the New York Knicks have. And that could be something to look out for in the future. Does New York back it up and throw a ton of picks to a team like Dallas, maybe in the future, to get Luka Doncic?
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage Late
Sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back right here on SportsGrid, and to help us continue to break down a full slate of NHL action, that is Joe Madden. I don't know if I realized how many games there were, Joe, when we were talking at first. 12, 13 games tonight.
12 games tonight on the slate. It's just absolutely loaded out there, and I couldn't be more excited. There's so many opportunities in all of these games to make some money tonight, Kevin.
All right, let's go to this one then with Edmonton. I know the Oilers, anytime they play, people look to get involved in their games. They're a big road favorite, though, against the St. Louis Blues. Where do you find some value?
Yeah, I'm going to look at this one. I've got a couple of things that I'm liking here. I do expect Edmonton to come out nice and strong, but I'm expecting this defense to be able to lock down. We know when they were on that winning streak, they weren't allowing these goals, and now in their last 2 games, they've allowed 4 goals in both of those. So expecting the defense to come out stronger, but I also look at this one, and offensively, this team is just lighting it up. Connor McDavid, 6 assists in the last game versus the Red Wings. He was absolutely on fire. They're going to be firing away at Jordan Binnington. Now, his number for his goalie prop is 29.5 for his save shots on goal. I still think he can go over this, even though I'm looking at Edmonton to win. Edmonton's just going to absolute pepper him out here. I expect at least 38 shots on net out of the Edmonton Oilers, even though their defense is going to be strong. So give me Binnington over 29.5 save shots in this one. I think he comes out nice and strong. I would also look at the St. Louis Blues team total to the under 2.5. It's -108. I think they're going to struggle here to score on the Edmonton Oilers as well. But I don't like Skinner's number. It's just right on the money, so I couldn't touch it.
6 assists.
Yeah.
What in
career
the
high.
world?
I know, career high.
I would hope
Absolute
so.
Fire. Fire. So 2+
My
points for
gosh.
him tonight. It's -115. There's no value. The anytime goals +100. You could take that, but you know he's going to be on fire tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm now being curious if his MVP odds started to move. Let's see.
Oh, they will.
It's still McKinnon. It's still McKinnon. I don't know.
So much faith in the
I don't know
odds.
enough. Yeah, they have a lot of faith in him, clearly. All right, Joe, let's keep going here. The Preds are going to be in action a little bit later on here. How do you feel about Nashville hosting Dallas?
I love Nashville here, and I really do think we have a barking dog in this situation. I think they have every opportunity of getting the win versus the Dallas Stars. The Stars have been inconsistent in a lot of areas. Ottinger will be in net tonight, and while I like Ottinger, I really trust Saros in net for the Nashville Predators tonight. He's got a 2.97 goals against average and a 903 save percentage, and you look at his career versus the Dallas Stars, he is 12-9-1 against them in 22 games with a 2.56 goals against average and a 912 save percentage. I think he can get them this win in this game. I do think it is a lower scoring one here, but the value all on the Preds at home. They have every opportunity of pulling out this win. You look at this defense, and while it can be inconsistent at times, I think they're going to come out with just an absolutely suffocating defense in this one and just give the Stars no space out there on the ice and be able to pull off this win here at home, Kevin.
All right, let's keep looking then potentially for some other dogs here, Joe, with the Blackhawks and the Penguins. You know, the Blackhawks have kind of lost, I feel like, maybe the amount they were in the conversation with the Connor Bedard injury, but does not mean there potentially isn't some value on them tonight.
There absolutely is. Connor Bedard back in the lineup tonight. Now, I'm kind of nervous if he's going to come out a little timid. That was an awful hit he took that broke his jaw, and he has had surgery on it and everything like that. But I don't think so. I think he's dealt with injuries before in the AHL, and I do think he's going to come out nice and strong in this one. So I'm looking at the Chicago Blackhawks at home to be able to pull off the upset here. We know the Pittsburgh Penguins have struggled on the road, inconsistent, struggling to be able to get those wins. And Chicago at home here with Connor Bedard, I think they get that boost and confidence that this team needs. This team also, with all of these losses they've been suffering, 7 straight now, their players are down on themselves. They've been talking about it. They need to get back under control. And I know Sidney Crosby on the other side of the ice. You never want to bet against him, against a lower team like this. But I really do think Chicago can get it done. You can look at Seth Jones here for that anytime goal. He's coming in at plus 650. And I'd look at Connor Bedard as well. This team has every opportunity of breaking this losing streak and getting the win at home tonight, Kevin.
I'm curious, Joe, with Bedard, you mentioned potential timidness, but also with it being the first game back, at times that can provide value. Minus 130, I found, to record a point. Is that worth it for him in his first game back?
Yeah, absolutely. Minus 130 for him to come out and record the point. I like the angle you looked at because I just looked at that anytime goal. He's definitely going to come out there and make an impact. We look at him in situations, and when he faced Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers, he opened up that game with a huge goal. Him and Sidney Crosby were hanging out at the All-Star game. So seeing the two of them together, I just want that picture and I want it signed because it was absolutely amazing because Sidney Crosby used to be called Sid the Kid, not so much anymore, but then they said Sid and the Kid. These two together, Connor Bedard wants to get that goal. He wants to go against these great hockey players, and I think he's going to be fired tonight.
Yeah, I like to look. Might have to add that along. I was telling Joe on Austin Matthews, 2+ points, so we'll see how that goes. There's only very few games. I think there's only one game so far. Boston's the only team that's scored so far, so low scoring start to the NHL slate. Calgary and San Jose Flames are a huge favorite, Joe. What do you like?
Oh, every time I look at this game, I have flashbacks of the last game of last season where Daryl Sutter was still coaching and the Sharks just dominated over Calgary because they had no life. This isn't the same team that has no life. I do expect them to come out nice and strong in this one. The Sharks, this team has just been absolutely struggling, but Calgary also has shown their weaknesses and allowed teams to come back, even since after the All-Star break. And while they did win 3 of those 4 games, they're still coming off that loss to the Rangers there. I'm looking at Calgary just to come out right out of the gate here and win that first period. So puck line for Calgary in the first period, laying a half a goal, coming in at plus 104. These guys are going to be excited to get out there on the ice. They have dominated in a lot of these games versus the Sharks. And I think this is one, at least the first period, we'll see a lot of success.
All right, perfect. Our second goal belongs to the Flyers. How about that?
Hey, interesting.
They flipped to a minus 154 favorite on the live money line as well. All right, there you go. A little live look from Joe. Joe, last game of the night's in Vancouver, minus 176 on these Canucks here against the Detroit Red Wings. How do you feel about this game, 6.5?
This is going to be a goaltending battle all day long. We've got Demko versus Leon in here, and I know we just saw the Red Wings put up 4 goals on the Edmonton Oilers and allow those 8, but I don't think we're going to see that in this one. Leon has been so phenomenally strong in net, and so has Demko here. One thing to look at, I'm going to take the under 6.5 firstly. I think that is the strongest bet. I think the Red Wings could pull it off. But one angle here, Kevin, is Elias Lindholm. This is his first game in Vancouver. Vancouver returning from that long road trip, but they got Elias Lindholm over the All-Star break from the Calgary Flames. He came out and made a huge impact right away. And this team is still buying. This team is making a run for the cup. I do think here, you see Elias Lindholm get that anytime goal. It's coming in at plus 210. He's so impactful for this team, but lower scoring game. I think these goalies battle this one out, and we go under the 6.5, which sounds so ridiculous to say when you've got such elite offense here. But Vancouver, they want the cup. They've got to start turning on that defense.
Yeah, that is, man, again, if it falls in line here, 6.5, Joe, it's not a bad look. This is what happens when I spend too much time. The NBA needs to start. I feel like no game's going to have any goals in it, Joe. That's my early reaction to 6 minutes of hockey everywhere else.
You know what? And it's okay because a lot of these games will open up in that second period. Don't be worried about the lower scoring games in that first, but it gives you a nice opportunity to jump on some totals to those overs. If you're looking, we've now got a 5.5 with Montreal and the New York Rangers. I wouldn't take that one to the over, but I still think the under 5.5 minus 128 is in play.
Great breakdown as always, Joe, Matt, and we're live to hear more Game Time decisions.
I'm sort of starting to figure out where these Canadian guys play well, bro. Not Hawaii, not California. Give me a Canadian in Ohio, Ken. Give me a Canadian in Michigan. Give me a Canadian at the Waste Management.
Good old Charlie Hoffman, the representative of Waste Management, played the best tournament of his life in 8 years and lost in the playoff to the Canadian. It turned out to be like a wicked tournament. Shout out to Nick Taylor, gave BC's finest.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
It is a big I told you so if Mac Jones comes back and Mayo keeps him and the Patriots don't draft a quarterback at number 3. But the fan base is a big problem. I mean, you bring back
fan base will be fine if they win.
There's the if. If they win, fan base won't care if you're quarterback in the Patriots if they win.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Caravan came back. They did have a couple of transfers here. The reality is UConn is every bit as talented and dangerous as they were 1 year ago.
If there's a guy, Joe Ranieri, that for one game could take a bunch of cast-offs and steal a game, his name's Eric Spoelstra.
Game Time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Another reason why they wanted the deadline is the number is 7. Those are the tradable first-round picks the New York Knicks have. And that could be something to look out for in the future. Does New York back it up and throw a ton of picks to a team like Dallas? Maybe in the future, they get Luka Doncic.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early
The
line.
magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
We're live on Sports. I'm Kevin Walsh with you on this Thursday night, now joined by Zach Parnes. You've seen him before here on Game Time Decisions. Set to talk a little NBA. Zach, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, Kevin. We were talking right before we came on here that this is not exactly the prettiest NBA slate, but I'm a big believer that one man's trash, another man's treasure, and we may have some treasure on our hands tonight with a couple of picks.
Yeah, let's hope so. We'll start with this game in Milwaukee here, or rather with Milwaukee. They're in Memphis. Grizzlies, season from hell, let's be honest. The Bucks, though, well, the Doc Rivers stuff isn't working. What do you expect tonight?
Yeah, certainly bizarre here for these two teams. I mean, the Grizzlies, extraordinarily bearish right now, third worst in the West. Yes, snap that 8-game losing streak against Houston, saw all kinds of good things from Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr., but guess what? Man ain't playing tonight. So what does that mean for the Milwaukee Bucks? It means that you get that spread gassed all the way up to minus 11.5. The team total right now, 223, but the Bucks a minus 600 money line favorite. Clearly probably not a ton of value in that. They are looking for Rivers' fourth win underneath this Milwaukee team. It's been kind of funny that, you bring in a new coach, you expect fireworks, you expect thunder, not exactly a guy that can barely get you over the hump in a lot of situations. But I think even without Chris Middleton tonight, the Bucks are poised to do a lot of good and maybe do that good early on. And it's what's led to one of my favorite picks throughout the entire NBA slate this week, which is an under on Giannis Antetokounmpo's points, rebounds, and assists. Now, Memphis, they've gone through the injury forest and hit every tree on their way out, Kevin. I mean, just look at the stars, right? JJJ tonight, Ja Morant, obviously been gone for a long time, but no Marcus Smart, no Desmond Bane, no Brandon Clark. The list goes on and on for them here. So you come into this matchup and you're thinking, where are the stars? Are we going to see anything from Memphis's reserves? And I think against the Greek Freak, even in a sort of banged up state, it was listed as game time decision, it might not be quite the contest that we expect. Granted, Giannis, day to day, like we said, but last 4 games, this is the biggest glaring thing for me right now. He's gone under that points, rebounds, assists total, 48.5, 3 of 4 times. And he's only playing 33 minutes a game, which sounds like a lot for anybody who plays routinely in the NBA or watches a lot of the association. But look at it as it's compared to Giannis's career numbers. I mean, we're just not seeing the same things. This is a guy that we're used to seeing play anywhere from 36 to 40 a night. So even that 3-minute differential, I think is going to play a big role in Giannis's ability to be able to net that total for himself. By the way, Memphis, historically not great in the first half this year. And the Bucks, by the way, with a lot of trust in their big men coming off the bench right now. Bobby Portis single-handedly really helped them put the NBA Finals win against the Suns to bed many years ago. And since then, his minutes have only increased, 29 minutes a game in this month of February. Jay Crowder playing 30 minutes a game in February. That's his highest clip in years. The classic 3-and-D guy now sharing some starters rotation minutes. So I think that it's extremely opportune for people to get in on Giannis unders right now. But if you like a team in this contest, it's probably Milwaukee if you can take that minus 600 juice.
It's a great breakdown, Zach. I will say, you kind of alerted me to it that Giannis is confirmed in for this game, so your bet won't be void, and it allows me to lock in my Bobby Portis over 21.5 PRA. It's a comparable situation. They've been getting more out of him as well, I feel, with Doc there. I'm curious what you make of this team since Doc's come in? Because I expected it to be good regular season, bad playoffs. I don't know. Maybe they're going to do the reverse, disappoint in the regular season, and then the postseason could be fruitful.
Well, I think everyone in Milwaukee would be overjoyed about that, Doc Rivers included, who's always had sort of the knock on him that he can't really get that far in the postseason. But, of course, everyone likes to forget about the Boston years and that kind of an argument. But I think right now it's just finding footing, finding identity. And the biggest thing for them is finding who's really solidified at the guard play, right? I mean, everybody likes to talk about Giannis as just being the overwhelming face of this team. Chris Middleton, too. And even though we're not going to see him tonight, the guy that seemingly has been lost in translation is the man playing for the Boston Celtics, one of the best two-way players in the league, Drew Holiday. We're beginning to see his impact of not being there in general and just how much it is tilling away at the way that Milwaukee both gets up the court and is able to increase their pace of play and also slow other teams down across the other side of the court. So I think without Holiday, they've sort of been in this identityless state right now at the guard position where, yes, you have some frequent contributors, but you don't have anyone that matches number 11 in terms of efficiency and in terms of just being a total lockdown threat and distributor on the other end. So I think for Milwaukee right now, kind of take this reboot, big breath in right before the All-Star break, do a little yoga, whatever it takes to clear the mind, and come back with hopefully a fresh slate for Doc Rivers to be able to poise themselves to rise up in the Eastern standings and hopefully go up against some of these newly found contenders, one of which the New York Knicks right now, who are the talk of the town in the East and are definitely going to be a formidable contender down the road.
Yeah, look, I think this is a situation where, one, a lot of the NBA did Miami potentially a favor by pretending that they were offering pennies on the dollars for Damian Lillard because he has not been the same guy. And two, I don't think Milwaukee ever does that trade if the end result is Drew Holiday in Boston. They thought they sent him to Portland. Probably figured out he'll get rerouted to one of the LA teams. That's how this always goes. Him ending up in Boston, Zach, is an objective disaster.
Yeah, very much so. And, it's funny because I say identityless at point guard, and then everyone's like, well, what about Agent Zero, right? But you said it right there. Hasn't been the same guy. We haven't seen the same pacing from him. And even though he's a lethal shooter and a good on-ball defender at points, he doesn't emit the same sort of just frequency and hustle that we saw from Holiday. Now, maybe that changes come postseason. Maybe we're just seeing Dame stockpile a whole lot of energy so that he can gather himself and then move into whatever's next. But by the same token, you've really got to start clicking right now, right? Like, this is the point of the season, especially when we come back from the All-Star break, where we begin to tell if a team is going to be able to sink or swim come May and June. And ultimately right now, the Bucks look like a sink team, but, they could swim very well tonight, maybe get a little bit of confidence before the break.
All right, we'll find out. This game in Minnesota tonight with the Timberwolves and the Blazers. Blazers are home again. These teams wrap around. You have 2 picks in this game. What do you like?
Yeah, so first off, I also just want to comment on the fact that we've got 3 NBA games tonight and 3 road favorites. Pretty unusual to see that in general. Minnesota, no exception in this category, right? So I like the under especially as my number 1 play here. This has been talked about all over the place, online, social media, etc., because these 2 teams, let's be honest, pretty good defensively, but also slow. They love to take their time. I mean, how about 5th slowest pace in the league for the NBA for the Minnesota Timberwolves, who clearly are using it to their advantage, being one of the top teams in the league. Portland is just 2 spots down at the 7th slowest. They're still kind of getting things figured out between that Scoot Henderson and DeAndre Ayton combo that they're trying to do a lot of pick and rolls with. But I think that the under is super captivating for me simply because of the Twin Towers from Minnesota. Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, these guys are just known for causing a lot of headaches right now. Other side, Portland, great young defenders, top 5 in steals per game as well. I don't think it's going to be as easy for Minnesota to be able to penetrate down low as they have been able to in previous games. 215. I know we look at that number and we're like, this is the NBA. We've seen 160 to 140 this year. But between these 2 squads, things are going to slow down. And I have a feeling that the way that the Timberwolves are playing right now, I mean, they're getting opposing offenses bugging like they're entomologists or something. I mean, it is just extraordinarily frustrating to see elite scorers try to go up against this Minnesota team and actually get things done, whether it be on the wing or inside on the paint.
Yeah, look, it's going to be an interesting one here. Anthony Edwards catches the attention, but hard to say where his mindset will be heading into All-Star break. I think the Warriors' mindset is going to be bounce back. They were red hot, let one slip last night with a double-digit lead going into the fourth quarter against the Clippers. Zach, do you think they pull that off here against the Jazz?
Yeah, not just double digits, Kev. I mean, 15 points. And when you're 15 points ahead of a team that includes James Harden and Paul George, you would think that you're going to be able to pull away down the stretch, but that didn't happen. And that's why I think that there's going to be some anger that comes out immediately from Golden State. They're going to look to enforce their will on a Utah Jazz team that simply can't contain the two greatest shooters probably ever in the history of the league as a tandem in terms of Curry and Thompson, right? I mean, Colin Sexton has been good. He's been there at points, but Keontae George on Steph Curry, I'm going to take Steph 10 times out of 10, and we know that Curry loves to open up the game hot. I mean, there was just a few contests ago where he hit 6 in the first quarter alone from downtown, so we know that that sort of potency is there. So it's glaring for me to see this line be kind of so low at minus 118 for their first quarter money line. I think the Dubs in a full game capacity are also a nice play, but I like them to open up with that pop. They've won 4 straight first quarter matchups, Kev, and that's the biggest thing. One of those teams that they did it against, the Jazz, and it was on Monday. So it ain't even like it's that far in the rearview mirror for them, and yet they're still able to get the job done. That win, by the way, for Golden State over Utah, putting them over 500 for the first time since December 23. We're seeing a new age Warriors team that's coming out of this Draymond Green drama. They're adding things on with Jonathan Kuminga into their offense, where there was one point where it seemed like he wasn't going to be sticking around much longer. And now he's become a vital part of the offense and the defensive gameplay, and that's big. But yeah, I mean, I am concerned about the Warriors' ability to hold this lead or a lead throughout the duration of the game, seeing as they just totally crumbled underneath a little bit of pressure from LA. But I think this is going to be just an outclass of a starting 5 that consists for Golden State of Curry, Clay, Wiggins, Kuminga, and Draymond Green. I mean, I'm taking that over Sexton, Markkanen, Collins, Kessler, and Keontae George.
We'll see how it plays out. Zach, we appreciate the breakdown. If I'm not mistaken, you'll join us tomorrow this weekend. UFC 298. Volk is in action. It's a tight line. We'll break it down. Zach, we appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking the fight game. Thanks, Kev. Looking forward to it.
All right, great stuff. No doubt about it. Coming up next, Dave Sharapan. First time, I saw him out in Vegas, but first time in a while here on GameTime Decisions. We're back after a quick break.
I'm sort of starting to figure out where these Canadian guys play well, bro. Not Hawaii, not California. Give me a Canadian in Ohio, Cam. Give me a Canadian in Michigan. Give me a Canadian at the Waste Management.
Good old Charlie Hoffman, the representative of Waste Management, played the best tournament of his life in the 8 years and lost in a playoff to the Canadian. It turned out to be like a wicked tournament. Shout out to Nick Taylor, gave BC's finest.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
It is a big I told you so if Mac Jones comes back and Mayo keeps him and the Patriots don't draft a quarterback at number 3. But the fan base is a big problem. I mean, you bring back
fan base will be fine if they win.
There's the if. There's the if. If they win, fan base won't care if you're quarterback in the Patriots if they win.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Caravan came back. They did have a couple of transfers here. The reality is UConn is every bit as talented and dangerous as they were 1 year ago.
If there's a guy, Joe Ranieri, that for one game can take a bunch of cast-offs and steal a game, his name's Eric Spoelstra.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Another reason why they wanted the deadline is the number is 7. Those are the tradable first-round picks the New York Knicks have. And that could be something to look out for in the future. Does New York back it up and throw a ton of picks to a team like Dallas? Maybe in the future, they get Luka Doncic.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back right here, Game Time Decisions. Consig is in the mix. I'm Kevin Walsh, Dave Shatterpan. Dave, hockey guy, I'm on the board.
You've
not going
got
well.
a hockey play?
Yeah, it's not going well. I'm not happy about it. That's early, but
Let me look at the
Maple
board.
Leafs Flyers.
Oh, you
All
went
right,
over.
my bad.
You went over.
No,
Oh.
player prop.
Oh, I love this. What'd you do?
Austin Matthews, 2+ points, plus 158.
We need more goals. We need scoring. We need
Yeah.
things happening. We need power plays. It's 1-0 in the first period. This is not good.
Nobody's doing anything.
No, that's right.
Well, it's
Second
all right.
period.
They're trailing, so maybe he'll push now. What do you think of this Avs Lightning game?
So far, surprised there hasn't been a score. It's a game of the night. So looking forward to a higher scoring second period. Let's put it that way. The juice on that thing earlier today was 6.5 minus 140, 145. Where if we were in a room, I'd say, K-Dub, just move it to 7. I mean, you can't have the people laying 145 on a total. Tampa's playing as good as anybody. Live dog tonight. Let's just keep an eye on that. Well, it's pick 'em, so it's not a live dog at all. But I like Tampa going into the game, so keep an eye on that. I'm focused on the Penguins a little bit later. Bedard's coming back, and I can't believe the price on the Penguins. But this is a game they have to have. Them in regulation, if you need a little something, they should win the game. But they're going to make you sweat. This isn't going to be easy.
What about Bedard for a point, minus 130?
You would think yes, because if the Blackhawks are risking putting him back out there right now with really nothing to play for other than, I don't even know if he's playing for Rookie of the Year or whatever, I would have to think he's good. And if the Blackhawks are going to score, he's probably going to be involved. So assuming he has no minutes restrictions, he should be out on the power play. And I would expect him to get a point if he plays his regular shift.
Right, which is about, see, the last game's thrown off there. What does he play, about 19 minutes or so? They figure probably
Anywhere
play
between 20 to 22 usually, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we'll see. I think that makes a little sense there on Bedard if you want to press it down. I want to ask you this quickly with the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So was it definitively a bad game for the books?
I think individually for the game, yes, but there's so much futures and there's so many. I mean, the overtime thing crushed some places. 9-1 the payout. Was reported that Caesars lost over 7 figures on it. Those things you don't see coming, so it happens.
Yeah.
But you expect to have a double-digit hold percentage for the Super Bowl. I mean, it's ideal. But look at the last 3 in Nevada. They all fell 3, all 3-point games where, Sunday, the 4-way teasers won, meaning every way you went, Kansas City up, San Francisco down, over, down, under, up. they all won. So when it falls right around the number, all those props and different things, teasers all hit. The game middled in some places, falling on 47.
Yep.
So there was a lot of things that when you go to grade it and you're like, oh, I thought we won more than that. It wasn't any other score there would have been good. I mean, even the people that did the squares, the books that did the squares, 5 and 2 is a loser. I mean, for 100 years, the 5 and the 2 combo is a loser. Pay 200 to 1. So they got dinged for some big things.
But this is something that I've been doing this, right? When it could have been worse, appreciate how it landed. And you and I right away said worst case scenario for the books is basically Niners by 1. And the Chiefs said if the Niners would have scored a touchdown, Niners would have kicked the extra point, obviously. The Chiefs would have scored a touchdown, they would have gone for 2. And that game, I mean, if that thing would have landed 26-25,
wowza,
all over money, I mean, that would have been bad. That would have been bad, no?
Well, for some books, that would have been perfect, where the dog covers.
Really?
Because like a couple guys that I talked to had so much money line Chiefs that them losing but not covering would have been a grand slam. So different books, there's not one way that you could say that it would have gone that would have been the ideal for every book. But that San Francisco 1 point or 2 point game would have been okay for a bunch because there was a lot of people that, took the money line instead of taking the 2 or 2.5 that was available.
So I do imagine that Kelsey not scoring was big for them.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. So it always varies, but basically anywhere you look, there's a $1 difference between the Niners and the Chiefs, right? Do they really want Kansas City money? By the way, there's about a 0% chance I will pick the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl next year. Okay?
I
don't care.
Will.
Everybody. But no. They trust me. Oh, trust me, they will. Trust me, they will. We won't. They will. But do they really want Kansas City money? Or is it they're like, look, the Niners are better. We have to price the Niners better.
In this past Sunday or right now?
Well, right now, because these are Super Bowl 59 odds, and they have the Niners, this is FanDuel, 5-1 compared to 650 Chiefs.
I think because what happens when you put these up right now in advance, you basically go in reverse order of how finished a lot of times, as long as there's not a lot of turnover. So AFC, NFC champs, the teams they played, and then a couple other ones after that, the teams that were close in the playoffs. And there you have it. It's Niners, Chiefs, who met in the Super Bowl, Ravens, Lions, who lost in their respective championships. Then it's the Bills, because it's always the Bills. Bills get the money every year. The people want the Bills to win. There will be more tickets on the Bills than the Chiefs, because that's the next one. That Bengals one is interesting. I don't know if Burrows is healthy or not, but you throw them in there, K-Dub. The AFC, I think the road is harder through the AFC than the NFC, which is why San Francisco is the odds-on favorite.
Yeah, no, look, I don't disagree with it, right? I just think that was all true this year, and it played. Now, here's the deal, right? Again, if I'm in the room and they're like, well, who's better? The Niners. Did you watch the game? My response would be, did you? The Niners are better than them. That's not how the game played out. If they start playing 7-game series in the Super Bowl, guess what? They're going to start taking away Super Bowl trophies from Pat Mahomes. That's just how it's going to go. But that's not how this thing works. What I'm curious is, do they get more bets? Let's use the top 3 on Niners, Chiefs, Ravens, or more bets on Jets, Bears, Broncos, long shots, people trying to pick off big numbers?
So the Bears
this far out.
Case. The Bears is a unique case study. People love the Bears, and people buy Bears tickets to win the Super Bowl for their cousins, their uncles, their nephews, their nieces.
Yeah.
Like they just keep buying these things. One of these years they're going to be right again. It's something else. But you get the bets on the top teams because they're the top teams. You get more bets on those second tier ones, like you just said, because the price is right. So you have two different shoppers, right? You have shoppers that want to hold that ticket and want to come back to the Super Bowl party. You know, the game was here, but they'll come back to Vegas for the Super Bowl party or send it in and buy them here. You get more tickets on those teams, but you get the shot takers or just the value hunters on. I mean, Atlanta's going to be a popular pick because they're going to come out of the NFC South. So prices like on them, you'll see more and more tickets as they go. The Jets, I can't help you. If you want to buy a Jets ticket, I'll fly you out and let you buy it yourself. That would be great. I'd love to have as much Jets money as I possibly could right now.
The thing is, like, we did this. I could at least make a better case, I think, on the Jets 30. Just from, here's what I'll say about the Jets, right? There was people when Rodgers showed up who were like, listen, if you think Rodgers is going to fix this team, you're crazy. Guess what? Rodgers would have fixed that team.
Yep.
Now, you can tell me that he'll never be healthy again, but they doubled the number, Dave. Right?
Yeah.
If we're betting February Super Bowl futures,
yes,
I got a very important question answered from last year's Jets team, and they're giving me double the number. There's a lot of worse things I think you could do than touch the Jets at 30 when the Rams are sitting 30, and the Rams last year were 75.
Correct. You have to, you put the number now, at least in February, before the draft. There's going to be a lot of movement between now and the draft and people making moves and kind of turning over. I mean, San Francisco fired the defensive coordinator right after the Super Bowl. It wasn't, I don't think it was his fault, but I guess somebody had to go. So the changeover and the draft will lead to volatility in the prices. The Jets number set, so essentially, Rodgers is coming back. They're going to be better. How much better? Nobody really knows. But I think that number is a good number. It can only go down from there, K-Dub, at least right now.
So for me, the one thing that I'm really interested in, so you mentioned the Bears. We mentioned, right? They're 50. What happens to that number if they draft Caleb Williams?
Oh.
I do think it grows shorter, right? But if they stick with Fields, then, so this was, you experienced it a lot more, I'm sure, but the Tom Brady offseason and everybody was trying to catch the number, right? And some people caught Tampa. Now, this is not apples to apples, but if tomorrow the Bears released a statement saying, first pick is up for grabs, we're sticking with Justin, it then becomes catch the ghost, catch where Caleb lands, because that number is going to get chopped huge wherever he goes.
Yes. We saw it when Rodgers, the speculation, he was going to go to Denver. Remember that? And the Denver number crashed. They bought all that Denver money. And then he didn't go there and it didn't work. Wherever Caleb goes is going to improve that team ideally. Their division odds will change. Their conference odds will change. The Super Bowl odds, you got to move last. You got to make sure, because there's only one winner. And you don't want to give away value on a team too early. So maybe want to take some bets, like going to Washington. I don't know how much we would move the number, Cato.
Let me just say, that is my favorite landing spot. I will own the ticket. I'll just tell you that. I will own the ticket. Coach is there.
Win the division?
Nobody can win it back-to-back.
Right.
McCarthy or Sirianni fired mid-season odds. Dave, I appreciate it to be live on In Game Live coming up. Best bets are on the other side. Washington?
I'm sort of starting to figure out where these Canadian guys play well, bro. Not Hawaii, not California. Give me a Canadian in Ohio, Ken. Give me a Canadian in Michigan. Give me a Canadian at the Waste Management.
Good old Charlie Hoffman, the representative of Waste Management, played the best tournament of his life in the 8 years and lost in the playoff to the Canadian. It turned out to be like a wicked tournament. Shout out to Nick Taylor, gave BC's finest.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
It is a big I told you so if Mac Jones comes back and Mayo keeps him and the Patriots don't draft a quarterback at number 3. But the fan base is a big problem. I mean, you bring back
fan base will be fine if they win.
There's the if. There's the if. If they win, fan base won't care if you're quarterback in the Patriots if they win.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Caravan came back. They did have a couple of transfers here. The reality is UConn is every bit as talented and dangerous as they were 1 year ago.
If there's a guy, Joe Ranieri, that for one game can take a bunch of cast-offs and steal a game, his name's Eric Spoelstra.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Another reason why they wanted the deadline is the number is 7. Those are the tradable first-round picks the New York Knicks have. And that could be something to look out for in the future. Does New York back it up and throw a ton of picks to a team like Dallas? Maybe in the future, they get Luka Doncic.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Closing out game time decisions. It has been a packed Thursday night, so I want to thank everybody that stopped by. Brady Cannon, Joe Madden, Coach James Young, Dave Sharapan, and Zach Parnes as well. A lot of picks for the people. We even had a cameo from Donnie Rightside, who's going to Steph Curry over 5.5 made threes. My favorite NBA bet comes in that same game, which is going to be Larry Markkinen over 22.5 points. For Markkinen, it is a clear and obvious bounce-back spot. Less than 20 points in 2 straight games. That has happened 2 other times this year. In that third game, he is 2-0 over this prop of 22.5. He's also shot it underneath 50% from the field in each of these last 2 games. At no point this year has he gone 3 straight without shooting 50% from the field. So knowing we're going to get that type of efficiency is a big boost. 18 of 26 games where he's shot at 50% or better, he's gone over 22.5. On the college board, 4 picks. None have started just yet. Player props-wise, it is Fletcher Lawyer over 1.5 made threes, and Isaiah Collier, Fletcher Lawyer, of course, of Purdue. Collier of USC over 16.5 points. And then our 2 sides, we got UCLA plus 1.5 against Colorado, and Loyola Marymount plus 15.5 against Gonzaga. So the lines move too much. Too much. Oh, also, Bobby Portis over 21.5 PRA. I did play that. This worked great. This number was 22.5, and I was going to bet it. Then they were like, wait a minute, Giannis might not play. Number started to climb, said, let's wait and find out. Giannis does play. They drop it. I liked it with Giannis playing. Get a blowout situation, more Bobby Portis minutes. He's hit this in 6 out of the 9 games since Doc Rivers has joined, has not missed it in back-to-back, which means he is coming off of a loss in this category as well. Bobby Portis is also due for some positive shooting regression. He could really blow through a lot of these numbers here tonight if he starts to get hot from the field. So look for Bobby Portis with that Milwaukee Bucks matchup taking place in Memphis against the Grizzlies. I'm Kevin Walsh, GameTime Decisions. See you tomorrow.